This is the impenetrable city from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm turning it into Minecraft's safest city. Complete with blast-proof walls, doors that can kill anyone outside my team, and so much more. Upon joining the server for the first time, I was given a set of armor and tools by a player called Emma, which seemed like a nice gesture, but you never know what people are really after on this server. So even though I'm suspicious, I happily accepted the gear, saving me a lot of time grinding, which means I can instantly start working on my city. Speaking of which, in order to actually make the city, we'll need a lot of items. Mainly sand, terracotta, and redstone for all the traps. I think we should go to the end to get chokers to transport all the items we need. So I started making my way over to the stronghold. But on my journey, I stumbled upon someone's concrete factory, which made me assume there's already a concrete duper somewhere on the server. Then I nearly died to a creeper while looking at how beautiful a cave was. We're just gonna ignore that ever happened. So after my near-death experience, my hunt for shulker boxes began. That there looks suspiciously like a shulker farm. If this thing actually works, that would save me so much time. And it did in fact work. Sort of. It's not producing a whole lot, but I think these shulkers should be enough for now. Now that we have a way to transport the resources needed, it was time to start collecting the stuff we needed for the city. Speaking of which, I should probably show you guys what we're going to make. Alright, we're in a creative testing world, and here's my recreation of Boss Sing Se from Avatar. This base needs to be the literal coolest thing that's ever been made on this server. You see, on the levels SMP, almost everyone is insanely good at PvP, and me, well, not so much. So, in order to show the rest of the server that I'm not just a walking free XP multiplier, I need to either kill someone using the traps in this, or gain the respect from people on the server by impressing them. Speaking of traps, this base will be rigged with tons of them. For example, these TNT launchers that can track the player and shoot TNT based on their location. But as you can see, I used a lot of sandstone. Both because it's the closest to the actual color of the wall of the shell, and because it's a really easy resource to get. The only issue is we'll need a lot of sand to make this thing. And by a lot, I mean 400,000. I think it's time to start looking into the numbers and figure out exactly the best way to farm sand. And since I need to find a desert to clear out, I went around the server asking for a gunpowder farm. Alright, I was told there's one somewhere on the server, with the only issue being that I wasn't technically allowed to use it. So being the good Samaritan that I am, I turned around and went back to spawn AFK at the farm for gunpowder. I mean, if they don't want me to use this farm, then they should probably make it harder to get up here. I mean, they literally have scaffolding going up, I didn't place that. Now that we have the ability to fly and make fireworks, it was time to start collecting sand. Alright, I'm gonna compare some different methods of farming sand, starting with just farming by hand. So I set a 5-minute timer to see just how much sand I can farm. Alright, so after farming sand for roughly 5 minutes, I have collected 3,000 sand, meaning we will be collecting roughly 36,000 sand per hour. This also takes into account things like collecting the sand and putting it in shulkers. Not to mention that this would mean that I have to farm sand for over 10 hours, which isn't ideal. So I looked around on YouTube for a design that would be faster than this, though I wasn't expecting much since, as far as I know, all of these dupers are really slow. That was until I stumbled across a design that would make 100,000 sand per hour. I am so making this. Since I saw a concrete factory earlier, I started asking around, and after some time, someone told me the exact location of an existing sand duper. Alright, so before we build the new one, we have to take this one down. Mainly because my version is 3 times faster than this one. With this machine, my total AFK time drops down to only 4 hours. I can salvage a lot of stuff from the old machine, so we'll only need to get a few pistons and some observers. Alright, I have everything I need. I think it's time to do a quick little montage. Alright, now that we have the duper itself finished, we need a way to collect the items, and also keep the machine running while we're in the end. Collecting the items might be a lot harder than it sounds, since we literally need to break the game in order to do so. Let me explain. Most sand dupers shoot the sand or concrete to the sides, where it can easily be picked up with hoppers. But since the sand duper is so ridiculously overpowered, it's forced to shoot the sand straight down instead of to the sides, which is a much bigger issue than it might look like. You see, every time something goes through the end, this 5x5 obsidian platform below it regenerates, which is meant to prevent people from just falling into the void, obviously. But this would ruin our duper, since it would mean there is no way to pick up the items except picking them up by hand, which would quickly become way too much work. Luckily, there's a trick to prevent this platform from regenerating, called silk string. And trust me, it's way cooler than it sounds. By placing tripwire hooks and string and breaking a few specific blocks, we can prevent the platform from regenerating and allow us to pick up the sand. Let's go! It actually works. Oh, that took me so long to figure out. Now we can finally add a collection system at the bottom to pick up all of the items, which isn't really that difficult. We just have this water stream and some hopper minecarts below it to pick up the items. With that, we just need a way to keep the machine running while I'm in the end, for which I can make a very simple chunk loader. All this does is it's gonna send a minecart through to the nether and back, and that way the chunk keeps being loaded even though we're not technically here. And we can now finally test the machine and hopefully not crash the server in the meantime. Holy, this thing is fast. Dude, the amount of sand that's coming out of this thing is just insane right now. I don't think I've ever seen this much sand in one place, I'm gonna be honest. I was just about to AFK at the machine when I was told to come to spawn for a court case. I'm gonna be honest, I only joined the server a few days ago. I have no clue what this trial is about. So I spent the majority of this court case making Subway Surfers map arts using a plugin, which would turn out to be a massive mistake. Let me catch you up to speed. The case was about an alleged broken IOU between two of the server's members, but since it was the so-called verbal IOU, I was not sure what to think of it. So when it was time to voice my opinion on the case as a jury, I decided to vote the defendant Flamefrags guilty. The defending party was not happy with my judgment, since it led to them losing the case in a 3-2 vote. So while I was distracted with my map art, the defendant Flamefrags and his friends potted up to kill everyone, and I had no clue what was going on. So when they started stabbing people, I had no clue what to do. So I ran straight to the door where they were waiting for me, which is when they killed everyone and stole my items. This was devastating. Within 5 minutes, all of my progress and my armor is gone. So now we have to make the city as fast as possible, because it's only a matter of time until Flamefrags and his team come back to finish what they started. Luckily, one of the server members called Render gave me a spare set of armor and tools to get me back on track. Now it was finally time to start getting some materials and construct the first layer of this base. This wall is taking up an insane amount of sand. My hand is actually starting to hurt from all the placing. Okay, so I just finished making the outside of the first wall, and it looks exactly like in the show. I cannot wait until I have the center palace so I can start rigging it with crazy traps. Speaking of which, before we make the second wall, we should probably make the palace first. Which is what I want to do, because at the moment, this is what my storage looks like. And in the palace, the storage room will be secured behind a door that only allows me to open it. If anyone else tries to do it, they'll be killed by a fall trap. But more on that later. For now, we have to get the materials to make this place. For the palace, we'll need 4 main blocks: quartz, lime terracotta, red terracotta, and bamboo. The easiest one will probably be the bamboo, since we can just put a bunch in the ground and we'll have to grow while we're building. Next up, we need terracotta, which is a lot harder to get. We're gonna need over 8,000 red terracotta and 2,000 lime terracotta, which can be found in the Badlands biome. But to speed up the farming process, I'm gonna try to get a beacon. I was donated the iron for the base of the beacon, so all I needed to do was get the beacon itself. But first, I would like to ask you to subscribe. My goal is to get to YouTube rank on Hypixel, for which we need 30,000 subscribers. So it would mean the world to me if you subscribed. Alright, I think it's time for a little bit of wither skeleton farming. Okay, so I just got a DM from Jaden, who's part of Flamefrags' team, and he wants to meet up with me to discuss some business, but I'm extremely suspicious since they killed me not too long ago, and I don't think I can be of much use to them.
I want your help.
Okay, let me save you 30 minutes of this conversation. Jaden wants to run for King of Spawn, so he's using another new member of the server, Phoebe, as his puppet. He wants me to say that I'm gonna help Phoebe build mega bases for each team, and in return, I would get my heart back that he stole and a beacon. But am I really gonna betray the entire server just for a beacon and 1 heart? So even though I felt disgusted with what I just did, this beacon is gonna massively help me speed up the farming process. So within only an hour or 2, we already have all the blocks that we need. Before even making a palace, we need to clear out the trees and flatten the area around it. This palace needs to look as close to the show's version as possible, which is quite difficult since there isn't much information about it online. In the show, the palace was used to host dinner parties, and it was also a place for the king to live. So I want to take elements of that into the build by having the center room be a massive dining hall. After finishing the red terracotta part, I planted bamboo that I can later use to make the roof and decorations, before going to the nether to farm up the needed quartz. But first I needed to get more gunpowder, so I went back to the enemy base to get gunpowder, but this time someone was AFK at the farm while I was going up there. I really hope he doesn't hear me. If he tries fighting me, I'm so dead. I have no PvP gear whatsoever. Okay, I think I'm safe. He's definitely AFK. I mean, that just saves me time AFKing, you know? So I went into the nether with my new stolen rockets in the hopes of finding the quartz that I needed. We'll be using the quartz as a layer of decoration at the top of the temple, like shown in the show. Now we need to replace part of the build with lime terracotta, which I got from dyeing normal terracotta lime. Okay, this is starting to look really cool. Now we just need to add the roof of this place, which I'm gonna use the bamboo for. It looks just like in the show, so I cannot wait until I can start filling this thing up. But before I can do that, it was time for the final elections. It was a battle between Phoebe, Jademan's puppet, and Team Kalal. Phoebe's promises were mostly about the mega bases and to make spawn look a lot better in general, while Team Kalal wanted to make public farms and make spawn safer for everyone. With the votes tallied, it was only a matter of minutes until we found out who would be running spawn from now on. If Phoebe won this election, I would be almost guaranteed to be hunted down and killed instantly, purely for going against their ideas and sharing my opinions. My future on the server depended on the judgment of my fellow members, and if they were able to see through Phoebe's lies.
The first ever actual king of the levels SMP. Phoebe.
I would like to announce to you all your official king of the levels SMP, Jaden Man. Thank you all.
So, as the server plotted to go after Jaden's team, I instantly went back to my base, expecting the worst to come true. But now we can finally start making the second layer of defense for the city. We'll be making a giant second wall, of which part will be made using waterlogged stairs, meaning if anything explodes near it, the wall won't be damaged. Okay, we are starting to run out of sandstone to use, and I still need to fix up some parts in the outer wall, but this base is really started to come together. I also mob-proofed the entire inside of this wall to make the base as safe as possible. Now it's time to make the interiors for the base, starting with the main hall. This room is going to be rigged with a secret escape for me to get away from any potential danger. But first we have to make the actual storage area. And to get into this room, I'm finally making the door that only allows me to enter it, for which I did quite a lot of testing, and I found that the best way to do this is with an LA. The main issue here is that we'll need to get an LA, and those are quite rare to find, only being found in woodland mansions and pillager outposts. So I set out to finally find myself an LA, which took longer than I was expecting. Oh wait, I think that's a pillager outpost. No, seriously, someone took them already? That's so annoying. Yes! Okay, finally we got another one. Oh, come on, not again. I've been looking around for the last 20 minutes now and I have yet to find a single one. Oh wait, I think that might be it. Come on, this has got to be the one. Yes! Oh, we finally got one. With the LA secured, I only needed to get them back to the base, which is actually really easy to do, since they follow you if you give them items, and they're actually quite fast. So after a long journey and a couple near-death experiences, no, don't do that, I safely went through the portal to spawn, which is where it went wrong. When I went through the portal, I was only able to find one of the two LAs. I spent a full 20 minutes looking for it before pronouncing it dead. Anyway, I transported the LA into its jail, so I mean new home, and finally tested the door. Okay, so this is what happens if you're not supposed to go in the base, which is hopefully what we're gonna trap Phoebe with. Alright, that works. Now, hopefully, if I walk past the LA and press the button... Yo! That's so cool! That is so sick. With my ego thriving and an insane excitement to add more hidden traps and doors into this base, I wanted to make a hidden escape in the main dining hall. Okay, the idea here is that I flick a lever and the chanter drops below me while a bunch of mobs shoot up from the middle. I'm also adding a secret tunnel to the escape that lets me go underneath the first wall and escape to the back of the base. And yes, that was definitely an Avatar reference. Alright, so let's say I'm having a meeting and I just... Okay, and then I fly out. Yo, that is so sick. I kind of want to test out the center part, but sadly I cannot find any hostile mobs to put in a trap. Unless... Oh, that's so sick. Now we just need to get a few zombies in here to act as distractions for when I need to escape, and then the trap is all done. Now, realistically, these traps are not going to stop anyone who wants to get into the base, given they could just mine through the wall and kill me. So I have to make something to counter that. First, I want to add a room behind the chest room, which is supposed to act as sort of a panic room. The opening of this room is going to be triggered by an item frame, meaning there's no visible buttons or levers anywhere. And this room is going to have a crazy secret that the entire server is going to want to know. You see, there's a glitch with the server's plugin, where if you shoot yourself with a bow, you can keep your XP multiplier, which is a huge deal, since your XP multiplier kind of acts like your hearts on the server. If you drop below 0.1, you'll be banned. And if anyone kills you, you'll drop one of these XP multipliers, which we do not want. So the room's going to be rigged with minecarts that can pick up your items in a hurry, and you can get a bow from the chest to shoot yourself if anyone tries to break in. Okay, for this next trap, I kind of want to do like a TNT launcher that shoot down TNT wherever the player is standing, since it's kind of similar to what they do in the show with these earthbenders that throw down rocks. But for that, I'll need a lot of gunpowder. Please don't tell anyone. So I made more than 20 of these TNT cannons all around the wall, which is more of a visual thing since I obviously cannot make these shoot whenever someone comes near the wall. Unless... Okay, so if I walk near the base now, I should hopefully... Oh, yeah, that is so cool. It works by having a smoke sensor right below the path, which triggers the nearest TNT cannons if anyone tries to walk nearby. And even if it's not the most effective, it's still a really cool feature. For the last trap, I want to rig the entire base with smoke sensors that detect when someone breaks a block. I'm going to use the same smoke sensors as earlier, but this time we're going to have them detect when anyone breaks a block. And you're probably thinking, oh, they can just remove the smoke sensor or like the redstone, which would break the entire... Wrong. Sorry, that was kind of rude. Anyway, I'm using 2 of these, so even if you break into the first one, the second one's gonna trigger anyway, alerting me if anyone inside the base. Now I just have to hook it up to something that makes a very loud noise whenever someone tries to break a block. Okay, so if I break this slab, it should hopefully... Oh my god, that's fast! The only issue here is that I can never break anything in my base anymore without setting it off, which is a mild issue. Now with all the traps complete, it's finally time to get my revenge on Phoebe for everything she's putting the server through. So I asked her to join the call while she was streaming with the excuse of wanting to show off my base. But in the moment, I chickened out. I realized that Phoebe probably never wanted this to happen in the first place. She joined at the same time as me and she was probably pressured to help the pirates with their plan. So when I had the opportunity to kill her and take her items, I didn't. Instead, I gave her a tour of the base. I knew that I was not going to impress anyone by killing a defenseless player. Instead, I showed them that I didn't need kills to prove myself, because they all know damn well that this is the best build on the server.